always forget my stand. Okay. All right. I'll be right back. All right. Got my stand. Welcome, beautiful. Sorry, I had to go get my stand for my phone because I broke my other one. Hey, welcome, Cindy. Just gonna wait. We've got a few from the group space that are joining, so just gonna give everyone a minute to join while I get this set up. Yeah, we'll just sit right here. Okay. Trying to see, is that gonna... Got to get used to bringing this phone stand with me. And welcome. By the way, Light Activator, I don't know your name. What is your name? I would love to be able to tell you hello. All right, let me see the height of this. Oh, that's good. Okay. Whoops. Okay, yeah, that'll work. Oh, it's Samantha. That's right. Okay, Samantha. Thank you, my dear. I completely forgot this was your account. That's right, my dear. Okay, welcome. Welcome, everyone, to getting everything set up here. Okay. All right, I'm hoping that the connection will hold because I'm having to sit in a different space. So you guys just let me know. And I would love to have some sunlight here right now. I can tell you that. I would love to have some sunlight. It's getting chilly out here, and as we start moving more into the colder weather, I have to start my activations and stuff that I bring through. Probably I'm trying to get it fixed up to where I can still bring them through in the colder weather. So I'm going to order an outdoor heater. My dad's helping me get some stuff set up. So thank you all for joining. I'm truly, truly grateful that you're choosing to, spend your time and your energy in the space and to join in the conversation and the exchange that is going to take place here. So what I've been moving through this month, each, in the way that I'm moving energetically in terms of ascending in awareness and ascending in mastery, every single time around this month where the hormones step back in and want to take a greater control, it's always really, really, it's a great lesson. It's a great opportunity to master, and it's a great opportunity to learn. And this month has been really, really challenging. It's been, and of course, the reason why is because right before my monthly cycle began, right before my menstrual cycle began, I had stepped into and I had begun offering, through my activations, which I always step through here and offer, but I was offering from a space of inviting people in to my own activated state. And these activations are a part of what I practice. They are a part of my practice for mastering the physical from a space of being the wave and not the particle. Welcome, Mina. And this is an important thing, because one of the things I'm going to be speaking into is talking about, what is our reality? What is reality, really? How do we understand and navigate reality? And how does that connect into the hormones, the role that the hormones play, just like all parts of us, our glands, they secrete or emit certain vibrational frequencies that give us certain experiences, even in terms of emotions. And the way that we perceive what we need is heavily bound by what our senses perceive is needed. So welcome, everyone. Please let me know if my video might not be perfect throughout this. I'm in the middle of the country. So not really where, there's a great reception, but so long as you can hear me, then that is the most important part. So welcome, everyone. My name is Aowasi. Thank you for joining. Just giving a moment, letting everyone get settled. I do have a few that are joining from my group space, a few more. So grateful to see those of you that are here. But yeah, this month has been more challenging, and it's like that. Like last month, my monthly cycle was really easeful. And that's the thing, when you're on a path of mastery, it's not about comfort. It's about mastering the spaces that you get comfortable in. And even, that might seem odd, especially because a menstrual cycle, a monthly cycle it's like, how do you master something that you have every month? And because when you begin to shift, and welcome everyone, when you begin to shift out of being bound by your reality from a space that you think you should be, or a space that you think you need to be, because your lower mind is the one that perceives what it thinks it needs. Therefore, you are bound as a particle of matter, and yet you still see yourself as being this whole body. You are seeing, you're viewing, your senses are picking up on the reality, and they're telling you, your senses are telling you, you're a whole complete body. You can look in the mirror and you can see an image of a whole complete body. You can sit here right now and you can feel a whole complete body. But the truth is that you're not actually whole and complete. It's an image. It is projected. It is like a holographic image. And so you have little particles of self that are feeding into this image in every single moment, in every single breath. But the way that you manifest that material image is dependent on many factors. We come into this realm bound by karma. We come into this realm bound by choices, which means Throughout your life, the choices that you've already made them. We do not actually begin to step into sovereign free will choice until we begin mastering our character. And so this is why many people, it's why it's not that your path wasn't, it's not that you didn't have a choice. It's that in order for you to cycle through your lesson group, in order for you to learn the lessons and have an opportunity to ascend and master, you must come in with everything that you didn't master in the previous lifetimes. And so all the choices that were made in the previous lifetimes that you kept retaining out of comfort, out of the feeling and the perception of need, you retain those. So the choices are already made. You're just here to experience them, and you're here to learn the lessons. Many people, this is where, welcome, Greg. Okay, good. Everyone, I believe Mohammed's here too. I'm not for sure, but I hope so. So this means that we are bound by the character. We are bound by the character, we are bound by the behaviors, and therefore we manifest again and again and again based on choices that we've already made, that we inherited when we came into this realm. And so because of this, we consistently fulfill those choices again and again and again. That's why we end up suffering so much, is because we never learn our lesson and we create our own suffering. Our own suffering is created by need. It's created by desire. It's created by want. It's this need of the physical that we think is necessary. 1 second. Okay, just shifting the chat. So we are here, everyone is here for either two separate reasons, and you all hear me speak about this a lot, right? You're either here to learn the lessons and maybe not learn them, but to experience lessons. You're here to experience your karma, or you're here to master and to ascend into a higher understanding of self. Now, I am feeling, in relation to the ascension, there's been a slight shift in my own understanding, and I'm going to speak into what's here, and I will expand on that as I receive more. We are ascending as a planet. Okay, the planet is ascending because the planet as a conscious being holds a contract. She is moving, our sun is moving into a dimension that is not bound by the particle state. It's not bound by matter, and it's not bound by the lower dimensions. Higher dimensions are a space that are not bound in that way. They do not have the physical density or the level of physical density. Now, the reason why the sun and the earth have been in this state is to give those of us that are here to hold such experiences the opportunity to have those experiences. When there are those that are here that have not only begun to master and learn the lessons, but begin to move out of the lesson groups because the choice has been made. Remember, when you incarnate here, the choices are already made. The choice that's actually made from sovereign free will is a conscious choice where you're no longer acting as a character. You're no longer acting from a state of behaviors. You're acting from a space that is conscious and understanding of its own actions, of its thoughts, of its emotions. Therefore, it's not split into its particle state. Right now, even though you think you're sitting in a whole complete physical body, you're actually in every single breath experiencing different pieces of your body from different parallel realities. Every single time a dialogue of thought appears and you emotionally connect to it, a part of you moves into that reality. Anytime you consistently energetically feed the dialogue, consistently energetically feed the emotions, you energetically anchor there more and more and more. And so even though your body may appear whole right now, it's not. You are simply viewing multiple particles existing through multiple parallel time points, because time is an illusion. But if you're bound by the choices that you've already made, those that you came into this earth with, that you inherited on a soul level as a soul extension, you are bound by the illusion. You're bound by time. You're bound by life and death. Therefore, you actually move through the cycles of life and death. You have certain personality traits, behavioral traits that are activated at certain points in time based on your gene code. So therefore, you're acting out the suffering that you inherited. And because you do this and you're not aware of it, you're acting on a space. It's not necessarily, it is unconscious, but it's actually acting from a space of conditions, right? It's a program. You're a computer, you're running on programs. Your lower mind is the computer. And so because your lower mind is the computer and you're running on the programs, you're running on a set of informations that you have already acted out. You are not experiencing anything new. You've experienced every single thing that you've already experienced in past lives. And even in this lifetime, even though different people show up, even though different situations show up, it's the same energy. It's not different. Many people think that they know what, just because we know that the earth is ascending, many people think that they're in that energy. Many people think that they are moving in that direction. But we must also keep in mind that we can only energetically move based on our emission of frequency, our tone. We are playing a song. We are a vibrancy of energy. We also emit certain hues of color, which is only something in terms of the way that the colors appear that you'll see in this way in the physical realm. Because matter, light is actually holds no color. When it hits matter, it reflects. And we are in an energetic realm of matter. This is why you see the colors coming in from the sun in the way that you do, because in the environment you have different particles and the light bounces off of the particles. It's the same with us. When you go into darkness, true darkness, the light is more of an ultraviolet hue, but it's really not actually, we don't see it with our physical eyes. So I speak this because what you think you see is not true. Your eyes trick you all the time, just like your ears trick you all the time. Everything through the mind is a play on perception. You could have a room full of people. I shared this link with my group space earlier because I saw it and it was perfect. You can be in a room full of people and you can, this was on Instagram. For those of you that are on Instagram, you'll probably see it. From a show that's on television, and he was teaching a class, and this classroom was listening to a chant. These people were chanting, and they would chant this thing over and over, and each time he said, listen to it the first 4 times and you're going to hear ... And they listened to it, they heard what he said that they were going to hear. And then he played it again and he said, now listen to how it changes. And then on the screen, you could see all the different phrases and you could actually hear what the words were written as. Does this mean that what the words were telling you were hearing was actually what was being chanted? No, not necessarily. But whatever you perceive is what you think is. So if someone is feeding you, if you're being fed information, and this information tells you this is reality, then this is what you're going to experience. And this is the illusion. Everyone right now, you're being fed information from the system and the program of your lower mind. Your character operates on the information. So everything that it feels, it thinks it needs. It thinks that's the reality. It thinks it needs the people. It thinks it needs the relationship. It needs the physical, but it doesn't yet know what the physical is because it's experiencing the illusion. The physical realm is very different than what the information of the lower mind tells you it is. So, our process of ascending in mastery of self is understanding not only why we made the choices that we made, that we inherited, understanding the character, but also beginning to understand the truth of reality. The reality that is not bound by the senses, and the senses are feeding off of the program. This is why you've heard me say many, many times that just because your clairvoyance, clairaudient, just because your clairs, your psychic clairs become active, you cannot trust your psychic clairs, especially in the beginning, because they're not pure. They're not picking up on pure. So channels and people that operate from the psychic, it's an operation that's still feeding from lines of information that are still projecting program delusion. And it's not a bad thing, it's not negative, it's just it is what is. My clairs, when I have open active clairs. I have open active clairs. Okay, so how do we use them? Thank you, Cindy. We use them because we have an awareness that they're not giving us our truth. They are reflecting to us what we believe our truth is. The only true reality is consciousness and higher mind, higher consciousness. For those of you in my group space, you know, this is why I always say we don't rely on images. And even as you're coming into a higher understanding of your character, you're understanding why you receive the words you receive, why you hear what you hear, even why you see what you see. But you have to keep in heart that as you're mastering your lower character, you're also mastering your senses, because your senses are feeding you your reality. But it's not really reality, it's illusion. And because everyone is so used to choosing, we all are, we're so used to choosing from the same energy. When we have an opportunity to choose differently, it's challenging. And this is the one thing I'm witnessing in my group space. There's what I call master choice points, because it's a new self. You've never experienced it. You've never had that physical, dimensional, density experience of your mind, emotions, and your physical body ever. And so it's unknown. And many people think they again, we have many different understandings what people think is unknown. And because they think the unknown has something to do with something of new earth and all of this, but what does that even mean, right? People talk about these things all the time. The only way that you can understand them is if you experience through you. Only you can understand and have the self-realization. And that is what it takes. It takes self-realization. That's even something I've begun to understand in offering these activations that I offer. I used to offer them from a space of, oh, I'm giving you something. I'm giving you something. But it's shifted. I am opening the space up. I am offering an activated state that I activate within myself, and I invite others into the experience. So I don't give you anything, but I am upholding the tone. I'm upholding the sensation of it. You are having an opportunity in that moment to initiate and practice it for yourself. If you go into your own time in your own space and you step into an activation, then you are upholding it, right? So this is simply just where I open the space up and I invite everyone into the experience with me. It's an opportunity for you to understand the sensations from a space of higher mastery, higher commandment, higher depth of perception, which is a space that has mastered character. It's still mastering. It's always going to be mastering. But the ability to command the matter is available when you're no longer bound by separate points of self. So I can speak from a space where when I say this is, everything is. It is directly reflected through the vibration, and everything comes in. It's a commandment. It is an ability to command the self. It is an ability to command how the self experiences. But one thing that is showing up every single month, of course, is the monthly cycle, right? The hormones. This is a big one. When we talk about our illusion, our hormones give us a very big set of experiences. Our hormones dictate if we feel good. Our hormones dictate if we feel bad. Our hormones dictate if we're hot, if we're cold. Our hormones dictate that monthly cycle. They dictate how we experience love, how we experience fear. Our hormones are the main controlling mechanism of the programs. They are the ones that are secreting the energetic signals through the synapses and saying, this is how you should feel. And because you believe your illusionary reality, you will also be a victim of the hormones. You'll be a victim because this is the way it's meant to be. You're a victim of how your body feels. If you feel bad, then you feel bad, right? And most people don't know how to feel better. They don't know how to heal their bodies because they've yet to heal their internal dialogue. They've yet to, and it's not even healing. I don't even want to say that. It's just regaining a state of empowerment. You're in a state of forgetting. You're meant to remember. When you remember that the reality that you think is the truth is not the truth. That's the remembering. And it's not remembering that, oh, some cosmic thing exists. That's not necessarily the remembering. The remembering is here, not out there. It's here. It's the remembering that what you think you know is not your truth. It is the truth that you have been programmed to believe. You are programmed and you are controlled by a set of beliefs. So the friends you have, the family you have, the relationship that you have is all a part of the choices that you've already made. There is nothing new. And those energies, they're not meant to move higher. Friendships, when I talk about friendships, it's a very wide, broad range of energy. It's like a multitude of experiences. It's not just the like best friend friendship. We have friendship energies that exist in sorry, stuff is clearing. We have friendship relationships and group spaces, right? Spiritual communities are built on that same energy. A lot of them are, not all of them, but a lot of them are, because everyone is going into it exchanging beliefs. Again, you all have heard me speak about this. Now, the reason why it is something that is consistently spoken into is because most people have yet to self-realize the importance of no longer choosing to go there. Many people I know, because we see this so much right now in the public, everyone is talking about ascension. Everyone's talking about fifth dimension, fifth density, all those things. And yet they're still acting from a reality that is in no way connected to that. They're still choosing from the energies that are pulling and anchoring into the lower density, lower dimension of 3D. They're still existing, experiencing, believing, and choosing from the same energies that they came into this incarnation with. Now, that's, of course, that's what you're meant to do. But if you're wanting to go from point A to point B, you must understand how to bridge the gap. And the gap is bridged by going into the higher mind and out of the characters. So now, again, two groups. A lot of people are here for the lesson still. Once you reach a certain point of awareness, if you still do not choose differently, then you will remain. If you can, energetically, like your higher self is governing everything. Your soul is your higher self. Your soul is governing everything. If your soul sees that you have been given an opportunity, you've come across your soul contracts, you've had an opportunity to exchange with one that can assist and open that, which is a direct link to your higher self, and you still choose the illusion, your soul is just going to say, okay, all right, then that's it. You'll remain in the illusion. You'll remain in the lower because energetically you've yet to learn. You've not learned. and you will remain in the cycle of death so long as you don't learn. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's something that I feel everyone needs to claim, meaning they need to accept it. If you absolutely feel that you have to have the people, that you have, and I don't, going into a higher mastery and ascension does not mean no people. It's not about that. It's just not the same people that you're trying to bring with you. It's the contract of energy that you're trying to make fit. It's like trying to make a round peg fit in a square hole. It's not possible. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to take where your senses feel most comfortable, and you're trying to bring that with you into a state of experience that isn't dependent upon that state of experience. It accepts it, but it's not dependent on it. So just as you feel, let's say, you have a hug, you hug someone. In that moment, you think you feel very specifically, right? You feel something very specifically. And in that moment, it's a physical touch. It's a moment of touch. It's a moment of embrace. It's a moment of connection. If the state of you that you're in is the character that is dependent upon that other person that you're hugging, then that moment is not physical at all. It's illusion. Your senses are telling you that it's physical, but they're lying to you. That's the point. That's the point. Because everything of you energetically exists from a space that is not true. So what you think is not. It's an imitation. It's an attempt to make it seem as if, and it does a very good job, because your character is bound by the lower mind, which is bound by the need for exactly that moment. It needs the physical touch. It's the only way that it can feel connected. It's the only way that it can identify with the physical, because it's never truly been in the physical. Everyone thinks they know the physical. Everyone thinks because they touch a tree, because they have sex, because they're in a group and everything is about physical connection, that they think they know the physical. But if you're in the identity of the character, your senses are simply they're just telling you that that's what it is, because that's the job. That's the program. It's simply telling you this is real. Your mind is creating a lie. So with that, the question is, are you prepared to choose differently so that you can know what the real reality is? Most people say, yes, I am devoted, I will do this. But when the moment comes to choose differently, they will not. They will not, because they are so bound by the program. They have a fear of losing what never was. The fear is keeping you bound by something that never was. It is not truth. It is not real. It is not reality. It's a simulation of reality. And of course, it's confusing, because that's how the lower mind operates, is by creating the simulated reality. When you go into a physical experience that is real, that's true, it's a completely different feeling. It doesn't feel the same. It's not bound in the same way energetically. You don't enter into those situations out of need. You no longer exist in the paradigm. The paradigm, when the paradigm shifts, and many people think they've seen or experienced a paradigm shift, but all they've done is they've just simply shifted the lower reality into a different line of the lower reality. There's no true paradigm shift. A paradigm shift is a truly different quantum existence. It's an existence that you've never had. And because everyone that is still bound by character is still bound by the illusion, then you're not in the atomic yet. You're simply existing in a projection. And you guys that are in my space, my group space, you guys know, of course, that this is what we are working towards, if you will. This is what we're practicing. It's not only practicing that understanding, but choosing to accept it. So, everyone has an opportunity right now to rise out of, and even let's say maybe not going fully into the initiation of ascension, maybe not, but you have an opportunity to at least not be bound by such illusion. You have an opportunity, if you choose differently, to truly honor your sovereign choice. You never had a choice, but now you do. That's the thing. You never had a choice before, but now you do. And now that you're given an opportunity to actually honor your sovereignty, will you accept it? That's the divine path. Now, the path that was already programmed is divine too, because you chose it. You programmed your avatar, right? You programmed the information, everything is brought in, all the lessons, all the choices, even the family that you incarnated into was all there to provide the energy of the karma. And by the way, you incarnate into different families every single time. You don't incarnate into the same family. It's not about the people. It's about the energy, the group of energy. Everything is energy. Remember, illusion isn't about people. It's about energy. But we think it's people because we think it's reality, because we think it's real. And so what we are perceiving are particles, portions of other extensions of other souls, but they're particleized, they're pieces. We only have a piece of them because we're only in a piece of us. And yet what we so need is that piece of them, because that piece of us is so disconnected from our whole. Because we're so disconnected from our whole, we're trying to fill a void all the time. But you can't fill a void of self in an illusion that was never real. Because the energy isn't there to do that. That's not its job. Its job is simply to provide you with the lessons. The people are there to reflect and mirror to you the lessons. The relationships are there to provide the lessons. The families are there to provide the lessons. Everything is there to reflect back to you how you've chosen to suffer. And that's the human condition. That's always been the human condition, always. But now the human condition is shifting into one that has, once again, access to a quantum existence. And not only a quantum existence, but a quantum existence that gives it an opportunity to ascend. But you must, it requires the devotion of choosing differently. And I don't just mean choosing to connect to different people or just choosing, it is choosing to believe differently at first, absolutely. Because you've got to shift your perception. Everything is perception. Just like the chanting. When you hear the chanting and you're perceiving the words, one person, let's say the words weren't there and the screen wasn't telling you what to think. One person would hear the chanting one way, another person would hear it another way, because their senses are programmed to receive different informations from the same thing. The same set of the same energy. It's always the same, but you perceive it differently. That's why everyone believes that they know what unity consciousness is and what that means. It's not what you think it is. So it's not what you think it is. Oop, wrong one. Let me delete this. There we go. So you have an opportunity not only to choose differently, But to get to the point to where you are offered and bestowed the sovereign choice, you must begin to perceive differently. Everything is energetic inheritance. Either you're going to inherit the same lessons and you're going to die and you're going to come back in and you're going to go through them again and you're going to be given the same opportunity again. That's the point. Every incarnation is another opportunity for you to do exactly what you have the opportunity to do right now. But most people, when they hear this, it's like, oh yeah, that's powerful. But then when they step into that moment of choice, it's, but what are you so afraid of? What are you so afraid of? You're afraid that things will be different. You're afraid that it's not about what you think it was. Like, give yourself an opportunity to laugh because it's not serious. It's an illusion. It's not true. You are acting out of a space that you have been controlled by. Just like the monthly cycle, the monthly bleed, something that we worship because it's a part of the old cycle. It's a part of the old time. It is something that controls us. For me, energetically, every single month, it's an opportunity for me to not only surrender to that, but to also accept that I must initiate myself into a higher state of perception. Because if not, my hormones are going to say, you need to think this way, you need to feel this way, this is the way you need to go. My body goes haywire. And so I pull myself back. Any energy that I would normally extend into helping other people or doing something, I pull it back in because now is not the time. This is just now where I'm stepping back into that. When I go through this, it's not the time for me to move into energy in that way. When you understand how you operate from a higher space, you don't just do things to do them. You are in a space of sovereign integrity. You don't need to connect to other people, but when the opportunity is there, when the energy is there, when you are from this space, then you have an opportunity to master that in every moment. You have an opportunity to really understand yourself. So, and as I say these things, it's one thing, right? It's one thing to hear the realizations, but once you step away from receiving this message, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to choose to respond? Are you just going to resonate with it, or are you going to actually do something? Now, doing something isn't always action. It's more of it's always about perception. So because you hold the awareness now, are you going to choose to act from a space of perceiving differently? Which means when you have the opportunity to remain in a state that is bound by control, are you going to choose to shift it? You have every single moment of every single day and every single breath that you take, you have an opportunity to shift your perception. And the way that we should be in the true reality is we should be moving from moment to moment in a state that is perceiving differently. It's not seeing the same thing all the time. But many people are so bound by, doing the same thing every day, going to the job or talking to the same people, acting out the same behaviors, coming home, watching TV, visiting with family. It's all the same every single day, even though you might have slightly different people in that rotation. Energetically, everything is a repetition. It's a loop. And so even if let's say you went back into your past and you chose differently from your past, would it change different? You would get different experiences from that, but everything is still the same. The outcome would still be the same, because it was never about just choosing differently. It was about why you chose differently. It's not about just saying yes instead of saying no, not about saying yes to this person instead of to this person. No, it's about understanding the why of the choice. Why are you choosing it? Once you understand the why, then you're no longer bound by the choice. You are just simply existing. And then the only choice that truly exists is the sovereign existence of acceptance. You simply just accept. You have no more choices to make. It is the only choice, is just to simply accept existence. Accept yourself as the existence. And simply, really, the choice, I will say, the choice really from that place is, are you going to choose to consistently uphold your soul path, your soul journey? Because your soul journey is simply about discovering yourself from a higher and higher and higher perspective. That's perception, and that's depth of perception, which is also dimensionality. So you go into a higher dimensionality. A higher dimension, as I've stated, is perception. It's a perception that exists in a tone of consciousness. So when you are in a state of consciousness and higher, and you rise higher in perceived consciousness, then you move higher in dimensionality. You gain dimensions. You are more, your hues shift, your tones shift. So what's here before us right now, my group space, before I invite each of you into the other activated state. The contracts, those in my group space right now, are what's before them is contracts that are being projected from the sacral. I'm sorry, yeah, sacral and solar plexus, but begin in the root. And these contracts are bound by the illusion. They are bound by the fear, lack. They're bound by the character. They're bound by the identity. And these are all based in friendships. Our friendships are projected through the sacral and solar plexus. And the reason why is because of the way the energies work. And everything in the root is about us. It has nothing to do with anyone else. As you start going into the sacral and the solar plexus, then other reflective identities start coming in. But the root is the singular beginning place of your identity. It's where you've inherited everything that you are in terms of your programs, in terms of your conditions. And so in order for you to rise up out of the root into, many people think that just because they know the heart is open and active, it doesn't mean energetically, vibrationally, that you have actually reached that tone. You have chakras that exist in the illusion. The characters are playing out the roles of the chakras. You have the energetic engine that serves in the character, and then you have the true, shall we say, chakras, which are energetically different, and they exist in the etheric, and they come through in a waveform. So what everyone is perceiving from the physical state is basically your identity markers, your characters. So when the contracts were coming through, are you going to choose to hold on to the friends? Are you going to choose to hold on to the relationships, the sexual connections? Are you going to choose to hold on to them? Or are you going to choose differently? And even though even though the choice has been made to choose differently, it's yet to be fully upheld. And this is because it's not as easy as most people might think. There is a lot that's bound. So even when you communicate your choice, we have such a comfort in needing other people that we keep them there. They're simply objects in our game. They're there, but why? That it always comes down to the why. When you have a deeper self-realization and self-understanding of your own character, why do you still keep the chess piece in play? Why are you still choosing to keep yourself anchored? That's always the question. Why? Why do you keep yourself anchored in the illusion? Because even with, again, this path does not mean without people. It just means with different people, different energies. It comes from a completely different space, a completely different paradigm. And the paradigm energies appear differently. And now, even with that, you're still undergoing, you're still learning. And so it's still there for you to learn how you connect, why you connect. You're not really discerning anymore. You're simply acknowledging from a space of, okay, I exist here. When people come into my orbit, are they choosing to join me in this existence, or do they need something from me? If they feel like they need something, then they feel like I should give them something. And if that energy comes in and it's not open to shift, then it doesn't serve. And I do not I don't need, that's not, I don't need. So if that energy comes in, it's not here. I don't need it. Now, if there is an energy that comes in that is open to meeting me in their own existence, I'm in my existence, they meet themselves in their existence, they're open to receiving a reflection of existence, they're open to receiving. That is that right there, that unconditional acceptance. Now that is a sovereign exchange, because from unconditional acceptance, then we have an exchange, a true exchange, not one person just trying to give someone something, not someone trying to hand something to someone because we think they need it and they think that they need it from us, or that we have something that we can give them which can somehow help them make their life better. Therefore, there's a dependency that's codependent. There's a dependency of need. That energy is lower character based. Thank you. That energy is lower character based. It's behavior based. It's illusionary based. So if you would like to experience a true reality, then you first and foremost accept that you're not. You accept that you exist in an illusion of time, an illusion of space, an illusion of self. That must first be accepted. And by accepting that, you also understand and accept that you know nothing. What you think you know is also a trick on your perception has been tricking you. You've been trying to feed what you want instead of allowing what is. If you allow what is, then you're an open vessel and you're empty, but you receive. If you hold expectations, if you think you need, or you try, or you must have, then you go into being closed off, particleized, and full. You're full because you can't receive anything else. And so many people are full. They're so full that they can't receive their higher. They're full because they're full of need. They're full of want. They're so consumed by it that even when given an opportunity to no longer be bound by their own suffering, they won't choose differently. And the only time the real choice of choosing differently comes in is when you have an awareness of why you're choosing to begin with. When you have an awareness of why you're choosing, then that's your gateway into rising higher into the self. If not, you're just operating and acting. You don't have the awareness, and that's simply the way it's meant to be. If you come into exchange with one, like right now, each of you are receiving higher clarity, higher understanding, higher awareness. From this space, you do have an opportunity to understand at least a little bit of the why. And you can even ask yourself the why. Now, self-realization is gained from a deeper point. It wouldn't really happen from this right here, where the physical eyes are open and the physical is, or at least the senses are consumed and receiving. Self-realization happens when the senses are no longer, when the senses aren't trying to pick up on something, when the senses are actually deactivated in a way to where you're just in a conscious state of awareness, but you still feel everything. It's a completely different feeling. For me, I haven't operated in the clairs, from the clairs, in a long time. They're there, but they just work differently. My sensory perception is different. It doesn't pick up in the same way. So, and that's because when I realized that the perception of the clairs and the perception of the senses was also there to keep us trapped in the illusion, then I began to shift. It's egoic based. It's belief based. It's quite literally lower dimensional physical base. Now, true clairs, we do have access. I mean, what I mean by true clairs are the clairs that exist through a connection with higher consciousness. That's where when I connect to my clairs, or when they're there, that's what I'm speaking from. It's consciousness, conscious awareness, the perception of consciousness, the perceived reality, which is its truth, which is not bound by the character or the illusion, and is no longer choosing to believe those things. It's no longer choosing to exist there. And if any opportunity for me to go back into that character arises, I have an awareness of that, right? I know that's why it's arising. So this is everyone's invitation. Everyone right now that is yet to begin this path fully, and I mean fully, and what I mean by that is you're actually devoting yourself energetically, and you're at least to one new choice. Energetically, you must have been behaving, perceiving, and choosing from a space that not only accepts, but is different. That's the path of ascending into mastery. If not, you can say it all you want, but you're still being bound by the lower mind. You're still just trying. And trying isn't energetically the same thing as existing. So you are here right now to understand that you can exist outside of your lessons. You can exist outside of the lesson groups and outside of the illusion. I think everyone knows this. We all know that the 3D is based in illusion. And yet everyone still exists there. To some degree, everyone is still there. No one, well, I don't want to say no one. There is a very, very, very small portion of us that have moved into a higher dimensional density, because it requires a level of devoted mastery, which means self-realization, self-understanding. Because if you don't have the realization, then you don't have the reality. The self-realization is realizing the self as it is in the illusion, and realizing the self as it is in reality. It's realizing. That's remembering. But self-realization requires you go into a certain state of existence. You go into your state of existence and you are there. And from there, you can realize everything. You can see everything that's in the darkness. You can see everything that's in the shadow. Well, everything that's in the shadow. The darkness reveals itself to you. The shadow is already there. You just simply don't turn into it. No one likes to go into the shadow and see themselves to realize their own actions, their own thoughts, their own behaviors. And it's actually, many people think shadow work is tough. It's not. It's not. If you have guidance, if you have mirrors, then you can, it gets to be easeful. Everything is what you think it should be. It is what you say it is. It can be easeful. it's not difficult. Shadow work is just true. What I feel the truth of shadow is, if you have someone that can guide you into that state and you go into a state of self-realization, you realize your shadow. You realize why you're choosing. You see that version of you that you hold captive in another. The friend that you really feel like you need to have in your life is holding an identity marker of you that you have chosen to bind you there so that they can play the role that you no longer choose. That I'm sorry, that you're no longer or that you're not wanting to inherit. So they're playing the role. They're simply acting out the role that you chose for them to act out. They're playing and acting the part just as you are. And so if you want to step into reality, you no longer act out the script of your illusion. You're no longer bound, you're free. Your energy is free, which means everyone has an opportunity to move in and move out. Your energy moves in, your energy flows out. You are no longer depleted. Now, hormones, now that's what we're getting ready to go into. The hormones are something that I've been working with for a while. And as a part of my mastery, as a part of, activating the waves and speaking from a space that activates itself from within the waves, I've realized where the hormones take up a lot of energetic space. They hold a lot of control. Right now, even right now, energetically, I can feel how much of myself is bound. And one of the things I realized I was trying to do is I was trying to unbind myself in a way that wasn't serving. So the hormones are a part of the program, okay? They're a part of the illusion. And the way that they operate is to create the story through you by giving you the feeling, the dopamine, the serotonin, the aggression, the anger. All of this enhances the feeling of your reality, the love, the desire. It enhances the illusion. It keeps you bound and captive. Even the monthly cycle, the menstrual cycle, the pain, the discomfort, all of it is a binding. It's a binding. We are not whole and complete. We are particleized in that moment, and we need another particle to be there with us. We need another particle to fulfill the act. This is why I've also realized this was something that dropped in earlier. Pregnancy. The way that the hormones operate in time. When you are so deeply bound in illusion, and especially if, now just because here's the thing, just because someone gets pregnant doesn't mean that that child is meant to go into a full birth. And it doesn't necessarily mean, I know that the collective has a big thing about this, especially in the United States. A child being born is simply either a soul extension coming into the lesson group to inherit the lesson group, to inherit the karma. This means, okay, well, that person is not moving out of the lesson group, so they're going to be a good person. That's going to be a good group for that soul to come in, that soul extension to come into and inherit the lesson group. So when you are really bound, especially right now, I'm only speaking, when I'm talking about children coming into this world, into the new earth, right now, the way that the energy is moving, we do have children coming in with access to their gifts and greater access to the remembering of why, and the greater remembering of why they chose to come here, which means they're still inheriting the karma. They just have a greater understanding of why, so that they can move through it quicker, because our karmic inheritance is closing out. This world will no longer be a world where the Akash and the karma is available, because it is ascending. That means the planet will carry a new Akash. So there is no child that is going to be born here right now, at least, Unless there is an opportunity, I will say, for a direct route, if they hold a contract and they can energetically, master. I don't want to say that. Yeah. So there, it's giving an opportunity for more energies, more soul extensions to come in that can either, for those that are not going, that are not rising into the choice of sovereignty, then there's an opportunity for soul extensions to come in that will. And also opportunities for soul extensions to come in that still need to learn some lessons. So this is why children, in the next, 50 years are really going to have a greater remembering of who they are and why they're here. Because the majority of soul extensions that are here are not choosing differently. It doesn't mean that they can't. It's just right now, energetically. Now, there are a lot that are. With that, there are a lot that are. And so those that are energetically, there's different levels and layers. There are those that are choosing differently. But of course, because there's no karmic group. Like for myself, I was pregnant and I've lost the baby every single time. So I was not meant to I'm not bringing in karma anymore. There is no karma bound to me. Therefore, I will not bring a child in because there is no inheritance of karma through me. And so that's it. That's me though. Okay. That's me. So now for others, just, you might not have a child coming in because it was simply not meant to be, right? That was just simply not a part of your path. It was not a part of your lesson group. And for those that are choosing this path, if you are choosing this path, the majority either will have no more children, and even if they do have children, the relationship is shifting for those that are truly devoted. It's because the family group is a lesson group. The pregnancy line, the activated timeline of a pregnancy is dependent upon the release of the activated loop through the hormones. So this is why we ovulate. It's an opportunity for someone else to come into the lesson group. It's an opportunity for a soul extension to come in if that is open and available. And many people believe that we choose our family before we come in. We don't. It's just when the lesson group, when the karma is ripe enough, then this soul extension drops in, and it's brought in, and it inherits through the bloodline. It inherits everything it needs. It's energetically available. So everything in the illusion is binding us to stay there. At the same time, if you're holding an awareness, you're also seeing how it's loosening. It's loosening. Its grip really isn't as tight as you think it is. But if you're consumed with the need of it, then you don't realize how easy it is. If you're consumed by the need of the people, the friend, the partner, the baby, if you're consumed by the need of the things, then you're not able to see and realize how easy it is to shift into a more whole, complete, unified experience of yourself that is no longer bound by need and is no longer bound by the illusion. So if we look at simply how the program is set up, we see how the program is set up for children, how it's set up for parents, how it's set up for everything, even war zones, even war, everything is a program of karma. The choices of the karma are so powerful in some places that the inheritance is only that. That's why soul extensions go into the war zones, the tribal zones, is because it gives a very, very, very powerful inheritance. And some soul extensions require that. It is necessary. It is also chosen. Your higher self, as your soul, chooses everything. So remember, you're just an extension of your soul. You're just here to have the experience of all the choices that you've already made. Now, if you begin choosing differently, guess what happens? You begin taking on the role of the soul. you begin taking on the energy of the soul extensions. You begin taking on the inheritance of the soul, not the inheritance of the karma. But you can only choose differently. You're only bestowed the opportunity to choose differently when you have reached a certain threshold of acceptance. Now, meaning it doesn't mean that doesn't mean that the choice isn't there and you can see the choice, obviously. Meaning the energy that gives you an anchor into the new paradigm, it only becomes fully available when you are in the responsibility of the sovereignty, which is upholding integrity. Okay, just because obviously everyone knows that they can choose, but that's not their understanding of the why and the energy of the choosing. That's a different place. That's a different place. Yeah, you could choose not to be with this friend. Yeah, you could choose to break up with your partner, but you don't have an understanding of why. It's just, I don't want to do that anymore. That's different. That's different. Okay. Can you clarify the question? Are you asking, are you asking, yes, please clarify. Are you asking, yeah, I'm energetically, right. No, the soul extension is an extension of the soul. And so the family is simply take away what you think a family is. It's simply a group of energy that is bound. No. Meaning, okay, okay. Here's an invitation. You're trying to pick apart the words. The soul and the soul extension. Okay, so the soul extension, meaning it does choose, the soul chooses. The soul chooses. The soul extension is a part of the soul. But the choices, okay, so let me clarify here for those of you that are kind of trying to understand the words. The soul extension is just simply going into what has already been chosen. So it is chosen. It's just already chosen to precede, meaning the soul understands, the soul knows what's necessary for the soul extension to experience. And so it's chosen. But because it's chosen, by the time you incarnate, the choice is already made. So it is chosen. It's just not chosen in the way that you're thinking. So when you're receiving, it's an invitation to receive without trying so hard to understand, without trying to pick apart the words. But I'm grateful that you asked for the clarity. It's just, it's just an invitation there. So to clarify that, and I am grateful for the question. What I mean by we aren't choosing is because we've already chosen, which means the choice is already made. And therefore, we're simply acting out what's already been chosen. So in war zones, it's already chosen. We just simply energetically are extended into that karmic energy. It was already chosen, and we go through and we gain everything. Now, a lot of times people that go into like the war zones and the tribal warfare, the majority of people that are extended or extensions that are extended into war zones are there simply just to play the role. They're there just to act out the karma. Some are there to act out the persecutor. Others are there to act out the victim, and both are accruing. One is clearing karma, and to some degree by being a victim of the perpetrator. It's actually giving. It's giving more karma to those that need it. Okay, so yeah, so it's basically we play the part, we play the role, we play the character. And so when we're playing a role and we're playing a character, then our role is dependent upon the energy that we have pre-agreed to, if you will. Energetically, it's already there, and our contract per the soul, per the higher self, um, is basically declaring that, okay, when we go into the program, when we go into the illusion, this is going to be what we're going to act on. This is how we're going to behave, right? All of that is already in place. So we just simply act it out. But because we believe that we actually have a choice, we've already chosen for ourselves. We're just inheriting. And so we only choose differently when we step into the energy directly of consciousness, which is the link to the soul. If you're still acting out from choices that were already made, just simply because you've yet to learn the lesson and you've yet to accept that you've learned the lesson, then you're not inheriting the direct link to the soul. You're still just an extension. Um, so, and what I mean by direct link to the soul is, I mean, you actually, when people move into a direct link of the soul, I mean, you always have a link to the soul. I mean, you begin operating as the soul. And this only begins when you gain enough of your own energy from a space that has realized itself and has chosen to inherit the responsibility of everything that it has learned. And it is no longer choosing to act out the energies of the lessons. It is acting out the energies of a higher understanding, which is consciousness. Lower mind is disconnect. You're kind of conscious, but lower mind is a program. So since lower mind is a program, um, it's, if we, even with the stories of how kids chose their family, remember, you're still born into, at least at the beginning, the lower mind. So they're still going to be, remember, the perception. And so everything is a perception. They are going to remember, but they're still going to move through energetically some karmic understanding of the program. So even though they might remember, they still have the karma. They still have to move through the perception of the illusion, but they have a more direct route to doing this. So we choose the family based on the karma, but we only choose it right before we come in. It's not, it's simply like, okay, when there's an opening energetically, then we go into that place and we begin our journey. So because you have to keep in heart that souls are rotating. They spend so much time, maybe 250 years, soul extensions, before they come back in. Especially if you're just here for the lessons. If you're not here to move anywhere else, you just come in, you're here for the lessons. You're here to, every single lifetime, you're just there to act out whatever the karma of the planet is. Then that's it. You don't move differently energetically as that soul extension. Now, if a soul extension realizes itself and it realizes that it can choose differently, and then it does, then the relationship, if you will, the template, it inherits a different template of its own experience, and it will begin journeying differently. However, what I feel is that there are those soul extensions that are simply just, that's just simply their role, if you will, is just to go in, experience, and come back out, right? Just to go in, to have the experiences, to have the karma, to accrue the karma, and then to go back out. And there's nothing else they're here to do. But if you are called into something different, you know it. It's undeniable. It's not even it might seem like it's a bit of a fight at first, but it's really not, because there's a deeper understanding of acceptance, where once the self-realization begins to happen, you also realize that this was always really where you were going to go, was you were going to go into a place of the soul. You are going to rise into a connection to consciousness, and everything else was just preceding that. Then that's, you know what I'm saying? So that awakening is a bit deeper, because there are those that are awakening to the understanding that yes, it's an illusion, and yet people are awakening and understanding that it's an illusion, and people are also understanding to a greater degree about the illusion, but energetically they're not going really away from just the experiences and the karma. So that is a different energetic inheritance. So as we look at the hormones now, as I begin to invite everyone in, I'm going to take a moment. My nose is running. I'm going to wipe my nose here in just a second. If anyone would like to go to the bathroom before we go into the activated experience. And I thank you for sharing everything that you did, Mina. And I thank you for asking. And I would like to reflect the reason also too, just to clarify the invitation that I placed there for Mina. As someone that is a part of my group space, there's always an invitation and a doorway for higher experience there. So that's why I placed that doorway there for her. Everything, this is also, okay, so here's an invitation. I just had this click in. Everything that I'm speaking here, I'm not saying it so that you can try to retain it. You don't need to try and understand what I'm saying. If you simply allow yourself to just experience and receive, then you'll receive from a different space. Okay? The mind, the lower mind, it wants to understand. It really does. It tries to understand. But the higher mind just simply exists and receives. So allow yourself, and this is for everyone that's receiving, allow yourself to step higher in how you receive. Just simply receive. Just simply allow. Because there is nothing that is being spoken that affects you in a way where you need to try to understand so that you can somehow go somewhere or somehow prevent something or some, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the action of the lower mind where it wants to try to know. But if you exist in the higher, you simply are receiving the truth of the state of consciousness. So everything that's expressed here is also an understanding that you hold in that higher space. It's if you meet yourself there, then it doesn't matter how the words are formed, because as you receive yourself in that space, what I'm saying is merely a mirror of your own receiving. Now, even if you're realizing some of it again from a state of remembering, if you rise into the space where you're simply just receiving, then you receive and it's there for you as well. The lower mind will try to find it and it will try to make sense of it. It's trying, right? Now, as we move forward, as we move into this, I'm inviting everyone in to experience this with me. I'm actually doing this activation, this activated state for my own deepening into understanding. I'm not giving anyone anything. I'm just simply inviting you in for the experience. My own hormones and the state that I'm in this month has been a bit of a shakeup for me. So I'm here to understand that, and I invite each of you in to deepening into an understanding of your own for yourself. And also too, if you have been offered an opportunity to choose differently, like for those in my group space, each of you know you have an understanding of your you've self-realized, and the majority have. And from self-realization, right, you've had an opportunity to choose differently, to experience differently. When you reach a certain threshold of choosing from self-realization, then you begin to manifest differently. but you must meet yourself in the space to where all of that energy can move into the manifested state, where you simply meet yourself there. Because everything of you that you're thinking, that you're energetically, emotionally feeling, is pulling you away from yourself. It's pulling you into this particle and this particle and this particle. So anytime your mind comes in to take over, shift it, bring it in, remind yourself that you're not here right now to be controlled by the mind. It's not about being controlled by the mind. It's not about, your mind's going to want to take you out here. It's going to want to keep pulling you away and away and away. And so you're just going to keep going, and you're going to keep going, and you're going to keep going. And then your emotions are going to join the party, and they're going to say, yes, have more of that. Let's intensify that. Yes, this is where you should be. This is where you should be. This is where you should be. And therefore, all the different particles of you are flying around everywhere. They're flying around, but they're not anchored. And many people think that they are. They think they're in the physical, but they're flying around. They're flying around with the thoughts. They're flying around with the beliefs. They're flying around, and then the feelings join the party, and you just enhance your greater illusion, and you create more of it. Meaning, you keep yourself there. When we talk about the universe giving us our vibration back, you're already programmed in the illusion. The universe is not giving you anything. You are keeping yourself bound in a state that you have already chosen. The only time you're really going to experience a reverberation of universe from a higher space is when you're in consciousness, higher consciousness, because then everything is immediate and it's different every single time. And there's no, and this is something I'm beginning to really see and understand. And I know people talk about this in terms of the manifestation. There's no time, right? People manifest, but they're manifesting from desire, which is a different magnetic pull. And that desire is still keeping them in the character. Desire is again, character based. Soul doesn't desire anything. It has no desires. It exists. That is your higher self. So desire is character based. Desire is lower magnetic. Desire is all bound by the lower. So everything already exists there. Everything. It already exists. It's playing out the role. So the only thing that happens is you just simply pull in from the lower magnetic. You're just simply pulling in that different desire, or that desire from a different person or a different experience. So higher magnetic is not desire. Higher magnetic is simply an existence. It's why most people think that they have access to their higher stars, but they don't, because they're still bound in by the lower character. The lower character does not have access to the stars. It's not given permission. Like you must show that you really must have access. You give yourself access. You, by taking the responsibility of integrity, access, it's a greater capacity of existence. When your stars are, when you're given access to your stars, like what we're going to be going through here in a moment, where I'm going to be opening those up, that's a large capacity of energy. It's a very large capacity, and it's something that's upheld. It's pure, but you must be in a state where you're pure of thought, where you're pure of feeling. Because if we were given access and we were operating from character, we would completely distort and manipulate the pureness of it. And that's why we're not given access to it. Is because that's why you have a lower magnetic for the desire, because everyone is still wanting, needing, and desiring. So you have a grid system, and you have a system that operates to give you the fulfillment of your desires. You have an imitation of the physical to give you an experience of the desires. But it's all of it energetically is, and I'm not saying this that it's bad. I'm not saying that. It's not that it's bad. It just is what it is. So with that, if you just simply allow that and accept that, then there's just simply an understanding that we have a different existence that's not bound. Hello, welcome. We have a different existence that's not bound by the lower magnetic, it's higher magnetic, and that is from the heart and higher. But you must rise energetically and meet yourself there to have access. If you're still needing something from the lower magnetic, from the lower desire, then you just don't exist there. That's just as simple as that. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment and go wipe my nose. If anyone would like to take a bathroom break or anything, and then we're going to go into the higher activated experience. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm about to knock that thing over. You can tell I'm definitely not used to having this thing open and active. All right, I'm going to step over here and do this so you guys don't have to hear me blow my nose or anything. All right, hopefully I'm not going to need this again. Thank you all for hanging in there. Yeah, put this right here. Okay, so now I know I've had this question come up, and I do want to speak into this really quickly as we head into this. And the question was, well, you know, why can't we have the friends? Why can't we have the partner? Why can't we have that? I want to remind everyone that what I'm speaking about is what you think and what you believe and what you perceive that is. The perception, when the perception shifts and when you shift energetically and you're no longer agreeing to that contract, different energies show up. But you must be a vessel that is open to receiving different energies. This doesn't mean, again, it doesn't mean no people. It just means not the illusionary contract of what you think a connection to a person is. Because everyone is stepping into relationships and the need for sexual touch and the need for a friend, and it's all coming from a space that desires. It's coming from a space that needs. It's operating from the program. If you don't yet step into the understanding and the self-realization of the why, then the other person on the other end it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. And the fact that you are still operating from an illusionary belief of what you think that should look like and how that should be. On the other side of that, in the true reality, things exist differently. And it's not about the outcome. It's not about how, this also shows you how the lower mind operates. Is like when there's an invitation to close that contract out, the mind starts, well, what am I going to say? Right? What am I going to say? What are they going to say? How are they going to feel? Their feelings are going to be hurt because you've become so consumed with the other person. You have a need to satiate the other person. It's a desire, and it is keeping you bound energetically like glue. Therefore, that aspect of you, that particle of you, is always split. And is, so long as you hold that contract open, you're holding it open from a space of need and desire, which means not only have you yet to realize your own physical existence, you are remaining bound by an existence that is not the physical that you think it is. And so you are choosing, you're just upholding the choice of remaining stuck. And that is those talking about the cycles of the hormones that are activating the death hormone. The death hormone becomes active when no higher energetic pathway is available. And so everyone inherits the death cycle that are still in the lesson groups, because you're here just to come in, to experience, and go out. And so that's it, right? That's it. It's the same thing every single time. And so the death hormone is active, and your cells begin to die at a certain period, because your cells, again, are operating from an illusionary reality. They only have a certain amount of time. And because they only have a certain amount of time, they move through time very quickly. We have a very finite amount of time in the illusion. But as you start going into your soul inheritance, time is different. And so all the things that you're hearing about fourth density, fourth dimension, fifth density, fifth dimension, the no time, yes, the planet is energetically moving into this. But remember, in order for us to exist on the planet or with the planet energetically, where she and the sun are moving, we must energetically be a match. So if you're not an energetic match for the density and dimensionality, it's because energetically, you're not existing there, right? You're not existing there. And so because you're not existing there, you're existing somewhere else. And so it's an opportunity for everyone to, this is why we talk about harvesting. We are harvested energetically, meaning we are energetically, we are pulled by our own soul, right? Our higher self, the soul extension, and all soul extensions, because once you begin this path, your soul extensions, all other lower density, lower dimension versions of your soul, all 11 other soul extensions, you can invite them to unify their energy with you. You also have to be very careful, because if there's karma that's being acted out through your soul extensions as well, and when you begin the path of taking responsibility for the karma, you could also end up taking on the karma of your soul extensions, and you don't want to do that. It's not your job. Their job is to understand their karma as well, because you're all extensions of the soul. However, when you do begin the path of mastery, they have a greater opportunity to understand and self-realize those that are incarnate. Those that are not incarnate, the contract can shift and the energy begins to come in and support, but you must invite it. You must invite, and they must choose. Everything, again, remember, everything is an invitation. You don't just tell your other soul extensions what to do. So from that space, when you begin to inherit, they are here to support. Now, this is one thing that you're going to hear me do in this activated state to assist. There are those aspects of the soul extension that are not bound by the physical, which can assist to a greater degree in the interdimensional planes, which is also, again, where you're going to hear me connecting or reflecting, but you will feel this, okay? So as we pull forward, as we go into reviewing the hormones, I'm going to invite everyone to begin closing their eyes. And remember, this state of activation, you don't need to see me or see what I'm doing. It's all about eyes closed, eyes internal. The darkness is where the third eye operates. And the third eye doesn't see images. It doesn't see images. It's not built to see images. It's not, remember, the third eye isn't physical, okay? Its intended purpose, if you will, is to see the light. But the light is not what you think it is. It's magnetic. It's currents of magnetic. Okay. So my invitation is, if you see images, if you connect, and I will be calling forth some. So what I've understood, and you guys have heard me reflect on ascended masters and how people think ascended masters come to them, how they think ascended masters operate, and how they think the initiation of this is. And of course, it's not how you think it is. When I am reflecting energetic and requesting energetic anchors, it is from the planes that those masters have mastered. And therefore, they exist there as support, energetic support. And if a soul extension is actually going through initiation, then there is a different set of regulations, shall we say, that exist than the way most people think. They don't just appear to you. Okay. You must be energetically, you must be at the octave or the frequency where you can actually receive the truth, if you will, of the reality, instead of creating the reality in what you think it is through the lower mind. It's very different. It's all the sensations are very different. So I simply say this as we go into this. If you begin to see a lot of images, please pull them in. The masters don't show as images. They are frequencies. They're currents of frequencies. They're just simply there to uphold. So thank you. All right, closing the eyes. I've been feeling a lot of intense head pressure, intense pressure in relation to the hormones and the releasing, the secretion of the chemicals. Leading up to this, I was doing a lot and inviting in a lot of experiences in a higher activated state. And so coming into this point of time has definitely been more uncomfortable this go around. So my question is, I keep hearing energetically, I meet myself, right? So energetically, I meet myself higher. I don't try to pull something lower and make it exist differently. I rise higher. So we're going to incorporate that. Taking a moment, dialing into your breath. Remember, you're breathing in energy. It's not air. It's not just empty. It's alive. It's energy. Now, the energy of the illusion carries information of oxygen. Very interesting. When we exist outside of the need for such things, when we, quote unquote, breathe, shall we say, we're simply just pulling more energy, more currents of energy into, and we are moving differently energetically, operating differently energetically. And that was something that just dropped in, just reflecting. So simply allowing, dropping deeper into the allowing, dropping deeper into the experience of the breath. Remember, as you move through this, if your mind wants to say, well, what, why, where, just take a deep breath and remind yourself it's not about that. You're just here to experience the sensations. You're not trying to figure out why I'm saying what I'm saying. You're not trying to figure out where it is or how to do it. If you simply just accept an experience, then from that space, you can also actively accept the experience through you. So we're opening up the energy bodies, opening up. And I want to call the hormones into illumination, calling the hormones into the light. Calling the contract of the hormones into the light. Now, I am doing this for my own activation. However, as I'm calling this forward, you may have some things. So let's allow, let's say, okay, so please have everyone. Okay, yeah. I would invite each and every one of you to please declare, I accept, I receive. You can just do this internally. Thank you. Now, from this space, as I am speaking, you may also have the same reflections in relation to the hormones. So calling the hormones into illumination, calling them into the light, and calling forth, what is the contract of binding? What is the contract of binding? Infrastructure of time. So there is still a binding of illusionary time. Where is this binding? Lower mind. All right. What percentage of the binding is present? 12%. Okay. All right. So through this process of asking, I have just gained an understanding of my energetic link. Okay. By asking the questions, I have a 12%, approximate 12% link through this loop every month. And this way I'm able to see and understand that energetically I will be here every single month, as we know, as of right now, because of that 12%. Now, as I consistently move into the mastery of the physical, initiating as I have been and as I will continue, let me ask. And this is, I'm providing this as a reflection. So for anyone that consistently chooses this path, you will have an understanding of this, of not only the process, but what is available. And I'm also speaking about the way the hormones operate, not necessarily the bleeding, right? It's not just about the bleeding. It's about everything that's connected. So just looking at the operation of the hormones and the time. So in the continuation of the progression of inherited light, what is the approximate percentage next month? Okay. So approximately a percent or so a month. Okay. I'm hearing after 2 months, if I continue on with the activations like that I'm providing right here, right now for myself, which I do, even, not just this one, but I will do at least 2 more today, 1 to 2 more for myself. Then after the next 2 months, this is a part of my practice. It's a part of my initiation and mastery. Then that will drastically decrease. And I've consistently received this through myself, that next year I will be in not only a full, complete paradigm difference, but I will have gained that access to my physical. So, okay, thank you. So this is the process. This is the availability. I have been consistently moving through this in the devotion to this, of course, for the last few years, but really beginning this year, I really began making the choices. Okay. So just reflecting what's available. And as we move into this, the experience of the commandment is also the reflection of that mastery. So calling the hormones into illumination, opening, activating Earth Star, opening, activating Soul Star, opening, activating, opening, activating Earth Star. Earth Star is open and active, allowing in the currents. Allowing in the currents, allowing in the currents. Opening, 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 opening. Opening. Opening, allowing in the currents. And Earth Star is open, remaining open, allowing in the currents, allowing in the currents. Opening, activating root, opening, 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 activating, allowing in the currents, opening, activating sacral, opening, activating, allowing in the currents. Opening, activating, allowing in the currents, opening, activating solar plexus, opening, activating, allowing in the currents. Allowing in the currents. And allowing in the currents up into the heart. Heart is open and active. Allowing in. Allowing in. and shifting out of hormonal reception, shifting out, shifting out, shifting out, shifting out, opening, activating soul star, opening, activating soul star, allowing in the currents, allowing in the currents. Soul stars open and active, allowing in the currents, allowing in the currents. And opening, activating crown, opening, activating crown, opening, activating third eye, opening, activating, allowing in the currents, opening, activating throat, allowing in the currents, opening, activating, allowing in the currents, and the heart is open and active, allowing in the currents and expanding. Now, from this state, we have an open, active state. Moving into the central channel, opening, activating central channel, opening, activating, allowing, opening, opening the channel, opening the channel, and allowing in the currents from the earth star, allowing in the currents from the soul star, allowing in the currents, bringing them in, bringing them in, bringing them in, bringing them in through the central channel. Now practicing disconnect from hormones, disconnecting, releasing, disconnecting, releasing, disconnecting, releasing, disconnecting, releasing, disconnecting, disconnecting energetically from the cycle, disconnecting, disconnecting, disconnecting. Shifting, 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 calling all energy into the central, calling all energy from the physical, calling all energy from the mental, calling all energy in from the emotional, calling these in. All energy from these bodies are flowing into the central, bringing everything into the central. Everything is flowing in. There is no binding to time. No binding to time. Bringing everything in, bringing everything in. Activating as the wave. Activating, activating, calling all particles in, calling all particles in, calling all particles in, calling them in, calling them in, calling them into the central, calling them into the light, calling them into the currents. The currents operate as a pulling in. So activating the orbits. The orbits are active. The orbits are active, pulling everything in. Orbit active of the Earth star, orbit active of the Soul star, pulling everything in. Pulling everything in. And releasing. Releasing any construct of time. Releasing, 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 releasing. 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 Shifting. Calling all energy in. Opening, activating sun star. Opening, activating sun star. Opening, activating. Allowing in the light. Allowing in the light. Activating orbit. Allowing in the light. Bring all energy in. Bring all energy in from the sun star. Bring all energy in. Calling in crystalline compounds from the etheric, anchoring into the brain, anchoring into the spine, anchoring into hormones. And calling into illumination, calling into the light, calling the hormones into the light, and activating and anchoring. Hormones are active and anchored in crystalline compounds. Crystalline compounds creating spherical grids around hormonal. receptors. Hormonal receptors, upholding, crystalline, upholding, upholding, and receptors are upholding crystalline compounds. And let's bring in some clearing and cleansing. Opening, activating cosmic star, opening, activating, opening, activating, opening, activating, activating orbit, opening, allowing in more currents. Opening, activating universal star, opening, activating, allowing in more currents. Opening, activating, allowing, orbit is active. Orbit is active. All orbits are connecting. Universal to cosmic, cosmic to solar, solar to soul, soul to earth. All orbits are connected. All orbits are connected and active and requesting access to the monadic cord. Requesting to receive the flame to cleanse, purify, cleanse and purify hormonal energies, cleansing and purifying, cleansing and purifying. And requesting assistance through the monadic consciousness, requesting to move energetically into a higher connection to oversee. Thank you. Just taking a moment, I'm going, moving a little bit here. From this space, opening, activating joints, opening, activating spine, calling the flame into the spine, calling the flame into the spine, and inviting in, sending out the invite to soul extensions to support energetically. So allowing the energy to flow in from the soul extensions. And opening and activating the cord to the etheric and the DNA. Now let's see. Okay. Is there an opportunity? Is there an opportunity to upload a higher experience outside of this loop to transition it? Okay. Was this the only thing that was required? Okay. Thank you. All right. Opening, activating cord to the DNA of the etheric. By the way, your true existence. Opening that cord up and uploading, and transitioning out of, transitioning out of. Returning all energy of the cycle. Shifting. So let's relax the physical. Relax the physical. Dematerializing, relaxing the hold, relaxing, breaking down. All particles are here, all particles are unified, through consciousness. From this unification, no particles are split. All particles are present. All particles are unified. They are unified in harmony. They are unified in balance. They are balanced. What is the hold? What is the pressure? Opening the nervous system. Opening opening and requesting from the inner planes, inviting in the physical plane assistance for the dynamic of the cell, the physical, those that hold assistance on this plane, calling each in now. Thank you. Coming into opening of the spine, opening and releasing, 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 opening and releasing, opening and releasing, releasing any hold on time, releasing, 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 releasing a hold on time, releasing, allowing in the currents through the earth star, allowing in the currents through the soul star, allowing in the currents, activating the hormones within the light, activating the hormones within the light. The spine is open and active, opening up the wing space, opening up, allowing in more light. Allowing in more light. Now easing the material. Easing, dematerializing, coming into the wave, coming into the wave, coming into the wave. Take a deep breath. I could even feel in my own self. I can feel some rigidity. Take a deep breath. I'm energetically existing. I can feel it right now. That hormonal rigidity and the atomic, which is light, I can feel it. Calling all in. If you'll give me a moment to move into the wave, using this as an opportunity to empower your own experience. Dematerializing. Coming into the wave. Mental body is active as a wave. Emotional body active as a wave. Physical body active as a wave. There it comes. Thank you. Active. Active as a wave. Opening up through the nervous system. Active as a wave. Releasing the hold. Opening. 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 If you relax yourself, what'll happen is the commandment of the consciousness, the commandment of the higher mind will move the matter. Allowing. Instead of forcing, allow. Allowing the wave. So just let go. Surrender. Release the rigidity. Allow yourself to simply just be. There we go. Dematerializing from the wave, rising into, so requesting axonal alignment. So calling everything into alignment, activating axonal alignment. Activating. 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 Activating axonal alignment. Now this is where the pieces of you will come into place. Activating axonal alignment. Hormones are purified, purifying, clearing hormones. Hormones are purified, hormones are clear, clearing, activating axonal alignment. Purifying, activating, opening the mind, opening the skull, releasing the pressure. Releasing the pressure. Activating. From this space, we are allowing the pieces of the body to move into place. Remember that you are particles coming in. The body is moving into its proper alignment, allowing. Allow yourself to just be like limp and surrender, allowing the waves, allowing the self to move. And opening into the spine. Still feeling some pressure there. Opening. Opening, 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 clearing, 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 clearing all energy from the nervous system, clearing all energy from the hemispheres, clearing, 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 opening, 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 clearing, clearing, clearing. Activating yin. Activating yin, activating yin, activating yin. And activating yang. Activating yang. Activating the currents of yin and yang. Activating. And opening. Activating pranic tube, filling up with light. Filling up with light. The cells are feeding on the light. Receiving from the etheric, receiving from the etheric, receiving the state of balance, receiving, allowing yourself to receive from the etheric. Receiving. And see right now, see my headache. I'm trying to, my body's trying to have a headache, if you will. And I'm just, no, that is not energetically where we are. If you ever have pain or anything like that, move yourself out of that receptivity and into a different receptivity. Shifting into the etheric. There we go, shifting. So moving all self into the energetic etheric. All receptivity is coming in through the etheric. All sensing is coming in through the etheric. Sensory is active through the etheric. Sensory is active through the etheric. Feeling through the etheric. Active through the etheric. Releasing the self energetically from the pain. Releasing. You might feel yourself pulling back, releasing. And coming into the sensory of the etheric. Releasing. 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 Coming fully into the sensory of the etheric. Coming into. And allow yourself to accept yourself there. Fully in the etheric. Energetically accepting. And opening. So returning the flame to the monad. Returning the flame to the monad. Thank you. Returning. And now from this state, shifting out of the cycle. declaring the active state as the etheric. Okay. Just taking a moment. I'm fully coming into this. Okay. Now a completely new state. And from this space, just simply receiving, filling the vessel with light, filling the vessel with light. So opening, activating. So calling in from the etheric, or actually no, from the etheric here. From the etheric, crystalline compounds are active in the base of the feet. They're active in the palm of the hands, active in the spine, active in the hemispheres of the brain, active in the nervous system, and active in the blood. So active as active as a different current of receiving. And from this space, filling up the vessel with light, filling up the self with light, receiving, charging, receiving, receiving, and just allowing yourself to fill up here energetically. And basically just recharging, rejuvenating the self. Most of the times we would go into sleep for this, right? We would go into sleep from this state. We can actively receive the same thing very similarly because it happens from the etheric. So the same regeneration is taking place. So regenerating the body, regenerating the cells, rejuvenating, and just receiving the currents and allowing the self to receive this from this activated state. Everything that we experience on our physical dimension, we have to remember that the physical material is still just one of the dimensions of self, right? And the true physical is waves, because everything in its truest form of reality exists as frequency. All right. And from this space, clearing, cleansing, releasing any energetic. Yeah, I can feel that. Releasing. Disentangling. Yep. Disentangling the currents, disentangling through the mind, disentangling through the mind. Disentangling. Disentangling. And lightning. So this is going to finalize this activation, you guys. Releasing the disentanglement. Releasing the disentanglement. It's going to get pretty intense for a moment. Disentangling. 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 And opening through opening, receiving from the universal star, opening, receiving through the cosmic star, opening, receiving through the soul star. I'm sorry, from the sun star and then the soul star, opening, receiving, coming into, and then opening through the earth star and pulling back into the physical plane. Coming back into the physical plane, coming into the receiving through the stars. Coming back into the physical plane. Coming back into the physical plane fully. Coming back into the physical plane fully. There we go. All right, so everything through the etheric has been received. Yep, energetically, everything has been received through the etheric. And thank you to the soul extensions. Thank you, releasing all soul extensions. Thank you, releasing all of those from the inner planes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And closing off the connection to the monad. Thank you. All right, closing universal star. Closing cosmic star. Closing sun star. And closing soul star. And closing earth star. All is received. Thank you. So just simply allowing all that has been received to be received, allowing it, and just simply allowing. And now I feel completely different than I did when I began. So there was a lot of head pressure. There's still cramps and stuff. There's still the physical acting out of the hormones. I'm not trying to force anything to be, but I am allowing it to be slightly different because I have shifted into a slightly different existence of my own experience. Now, the commandment of this comes from the mastery. We command when our voice carries, when our tone carries the commandment. It must be upholding the integrity of the carrying, which means it must be an actual open throat. Now we feel things on an imaginary plane, and we can feel those, and it feels very, you feel it, right? Many people will go into different experiences, but it's definitely different. This is a moving through different planes. Thank you for receiving. Thank you. This is moving through different planes, moving energetically and receiving energetically, receiving yourself there. So I am going to close off, pulling everything. So closing off the receiving. Thank you all for standing in the experience with me. And thank you for receiving everything. This has been, when I go live, I give, or I offer, I don't want to say I give. I open everything up for the length and the amount that is necessary. So I thank you all for hanging in there, receiving, and joining for this length that it is. Because for me, time doesn't exist. I'm not trying to make everything fit in a box, simply just allowing everything to come through and be received. So thank you. Now, I am going to allow everyone to be with this and continue to experience this. So thank you for receiving. I am going to close this circle off and going to say until next time, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to joining you all in another live soon. So until then, closing off the circle, closing off the circle, closing off the circle. Everyone in their energy, I am in mine, closing it off. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Until next time. Adonai.